kind of hoping to sit in the coffee shop and read for a bit, but it is absolute insanity in there. And it's raining out here, so I might just head back, but I need to get a little bit of a walk in for the doggo. Today, I thought I'd just take it easy. Honestly, I'm a little slow moving. Haven't had coffee yet, but it's gonna kick in pretty quick, which is good. But, you know, I just thought, sleepy Saturday. There's only really one thing that I wanted to note today, which is something that I realized this morning. I read for like an hour, which is good. The book that I'm reading, the France since 1870, it takes like an hour just to get through any given chapter. So it's definitely slow going. I'm only 9 chapters into it at this point. But I was sitting there and I was reading and I was feeling a little bit sluggish. Like I opted not to make coffee at home because I was like, you know what, I want to go sit and read in the coffee shop, which wasn't going to happen. It was overloaded, which was a surprise because you would think that with like the school holiday coming up and Easter weekend and all that, this place is empty. Like Paris is empty. So going and finding a coffee shop full of children, that was a surprise. But what I noticed when I was sitting and reading was that I think, especially on the heels of like a little bit of the emotional high and low of the last week, I would often have found myself really struggling on a day like today when it's a little bit low energy and I kind of felt like I just really want to chill and rest. And one of the things that hasn't popped into my head in a really long time, that used to pop into my head all the time, was that I would just rather be dead. Like I used to think very often, for maybe most of my life, I don't know, but definitely most of my adulthood, I would find myself in these moments alone, angry, sad, and just be like, I wish I were dead. And I had to catch myself. I don't know how long ago it was, maybe 5 or 6 years ago, that I started to really realize, no, when I feel this, when I think to myself like, I just wish I was dead, what I really mean is, I want to live, and this doesn't really feel like living. I haven't had that pop into my head in a while. Thanks to today's patron producer, Keri and Brock, and all my patrons for being a very practical part of this journey. It really would not have been possible without you. We'll talk more about that soon. I keep saying we're going to talk more about it. This week, we got to talk about it this week. I think that's good news. I mean, to put it into context, it's definitely been something that's been getting better, and it's a thought that I've had less and less over time. But to go back to the other day when my therapist put it into stark terms, where she said, I think the main thing you need to work on right now, like the focus really for the work, is to learn to love yourself. The good thing is that it's something I've already been progressing on now for a lot over the last like 5 years in particular. But to encourage anybody out there who's struggling with dark thoughts or with loneliness or just a general sense of, ugh, it can get better. I believed it could, obviously. That's why I've invested so much work into myself, into my journey. As funny as it sounds to say, I'm working really hard to learn to love myself. That's why I took the morning off. That's why I decided not to go to the gym. That's why I decided to go try and have a coffee, and why I decided just to sit and read and figure out the video as I went. I just wanted to take the pressure off as a way of giving myself a little bit of space, showing myself a little bit of love. And it gave us a really pleasant surprise this morning to realize I haven't had to short circuit that line of thinking in a while now. And I was just telling somebody, like, I'm actually really happy with my life. We were talking about dating. Maybe it was with Jess. I've had this conversation with a couple people recently, I think, but I am in this place where the more I love and respect myself, the less I really, not only am willing to put up with, but the less I really am wanting to screw it up. Like, my life is pretty great. Thanks in part to you. Thanks for watching and being along for this journey. Like, being able to share my story like this has actually been a real privilege and has been a real lifeline for me over the last 8 years now. So without you, I don't think that I also would have made as much progress as I have. Like, this has been a really, really wonderful project for me. But I'm in this place now where I'm like, yeah, I have friends that I really love more and more, that I'm coming to understand friendship and relationship and love better because of them. I'm really learning to stand up for and love myself in some great ways. And it's leaving me in a place where, like, yeah, there are things that are missing and things that I would like to change. I have ambitions for the future. I have grand hopes for my writing, for having my own place in Paris, for hopefully my citizenship, and maybe one day a romantic partner. But at the same time, like, I can just stop and look around and really enjoy what I have right now, and increasingly feel like I am living. And life is actually pretty good. I was thinking about doing just like a silent video, you know, rainy day, walking around, but I thought that today it would actually be really good just to note this difference, because it does feel noteworthy in the sense that this is a journal of my life, right? It's a moment that matters. It feels kind of underwhelming today, but it's a really nice watermark to notice, and I just thought I'd highlight that. We'll see where we go from here.